isn't it?
Recording in progress.
For the year for our webinar series. So you'll see on the slide in the screen share some of the information there about this seminar series. So I won't go into too many details there. You've all had a chance to have a look at it and understand what we're here for and why. And so for today, I'll just get my bits and bobs together. Today we'd like to introduce Cristian Bonacic, who is our speaker for this session. So just as in a brief introduction, Professor Cristian Bonacic holds the University Chair of Biodiversity and Sustainability with 35 years of research and teaching experience in forestry. His expertise encompasses ecology, biodiversity conservation, and protected areas, climate change and biodiversity. His research has pioneered the understanding of how business and biodiversity should be combined in a globalized world. Professor Bonacic's work is innovating forestry curricula, includes at least 3 significant academic processes over the last 25 years. As a leader in curricular innovation, he has contributed to the inclusion of conservation and ecology in forestry students' curricula. The forestry program at Catholic University currently includes skills and theoretical content oriented toward achieving the sustainability triad and following sustainability development goals. Professor Bonacic serves as a steering committee member of the Asia Pacific Forestry Education Coordination Mechanism since 2023 and was a guest speaker in the annual Chinese National Forestry Deans meeting in 2018. His current ecological work focuses on invasive alien species and forest fires globally, on benchmarking sustainability and biodiversity strategies of the world's largest forestry industries. So welcome, Professor Bonacic. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you very much. I will try to share my screen. And you let me know if you can see the full screen now. Okay. Are we all right? Yes.
We are right.
Thank you for having me today. This is a great place for me to discuss several issues regarding how we have to innovate for our forestry education in the APEC countries, and what can we do to be side by side with the industry and also with the global issues that planet Earth is now facing. So the title of my talk is Navigating the Global Landscape of Global Forestry, looking at 3 main things. First of all, I'm going to say a few words about Chile and the context of our forestry sector and how we did some curriculum innovations to make our career a career that could comply with the current challenges that we're facing in Chile in terms of the forestry sector. And the second part of my talk is about how we have this catastrophe of the COVID pandemic and how that affected our students and how this is making us to rethink many things that we do for teaching and learning experiences for our students. Humans are a kind of animal that forget bad news very soon. It seems to me that nobody really talk or discuss further what happened with COVID. And the consequences of COVID are still here. And in the last section of my talk, I'm going to stress the importance that academic careers and academia should be aligned with the industry and should be aligned with the new challenges that the market is demanding from us. And I will show you some examples about that. So before we go into the talk, let's remember that humanity is now hanging in a bridge, in a dilemma. This is a bridge in Vancouver, and shows how we are kind of jump. How we are now in a landscape of uncertainty, climate change, and many other things are happening together, and we need to prepare our students and future forest engineers to be able to adapt and innovate to solve the problems that we are facing now. Just before my talk, I want to stress some of the very, very important ideas. We in the APEC economies have considerable amount of forest, and we export forest products to the rest of the world, and we produce forest products that we trade between our economies. And we have a lot of interesting innovations in reforestation and other kind of forest uses. For example, Canada, China, and Chile are large forestry industries that are important for the whole world. And therefore, our economies need to consider forestry education as an important area of development. The challenges that we have are multiple, and we need to be innovative in many different areas, particularly in adapting to emerging challenges of the forestry sector, and I will try to explain some of these challenges. This talk aims to address how we can provide new skills to our students. For example, allowing them to understand and being key players in the emerging carbon trade development, in the climate change mitigation and adaptation. We need to understand now forest means much more than forest products, and we need to continue growing our understanding and our training of our future forest engineers on the human dimensions of forestry production. We need to be able to communicate to our students and to empower them so they can be real ambassadors of nature, explaining what means ecosystem services, allowing society to understand the importance of natural capital and be awake and open to new technological advances that can be used in the forestry industry. So the challenges are multiple challenges. The challenges are diverse. The ultimate goal is to show that forestry education must focus in sustainable production, but coexisting with environmental conservation, which is vital for the 21st century. So in my talk today, I will describe some of the challenges and changes that we have done in our APEC economies in terms of forestry education, and particularly I will show how we innovate and renew our curriculum a few years ago. I will stop and make some reflections on some thoughts about what happened with our students that we are receiving now after COVID and the global challenges that we are facing now. And if I have enough time, I will give you some examples of how we need to equip our students to be able to go side by side with the industry. Unfortunately, we have a rural divide between the rural and the urban. We have a big cliff. More and more students are coming to our forestry schools, and they have no experience with nature, no experience with forest, and we have to train them from the very basic, even how to walk inside a forest. And humanity is becoming urban, mostly urban, and the students that can afford to gain a place in a university are most likely from urban areas. So urbanization is separating people from nature. We are not all so lucky like having a Stanley Park in Vancouver, and many cities are just concrete jungle. So what kind of students are we receiving now? Urban students with little practical experience. They tend to think that because they have a phone, they can solve things like a game in a very simpler way. They have almost no experience to work in the field or to stay outside an entire day. They have low motivation and proactiveness after so many hours of online teaching during 2 years of COVID. It's hard to convince them to come to a talk face-to-face or to do a practical thing nowadays. They have this idea that everything can be on their fingertips in a phone. So how we can transform our forestry career into something useful for the real world now? Well, let me talk to you and say to you from where I am standing in this talk. I live and work in one of the longest countries of the world from north to south. And in the central region, we have Mediterranean forests and scrubland. In the south, we have temperate rainforest. And in the very south, we have deciduous forest mixed with temperate rainforest, depending how wet is the forest. And we have a thriving industry for the last 40 years with plantations that were originally developed in eroded areas after bad practices of agriculture. And for 20, 30 years, we have a strong support from the government subsidizing pine tree plantations, eucalyptus globulus, and pines. And then we managed to grow our industry to 2.2 million hectares of plantations. And from there, we export to the world. But we have a lot of native forest, and the main motivation of our government is to maintain and recover native forest. And our Chilean economy has a big input from the forest industry, particularly from plantations. We exploit plantations in a renewable way. And the purpose of our forest production is the global markets. It's not just our own consumption. And we have 2 large companies in Chile that are key players in the forestry industry around the world. But in the 21st century, we're not talking anymore just about forest production. We're talking about forest and socio-ecological systems. And we are quite aware of climate change and global change as a whole. So we have a global problem that forests are, in some parts of the world, decreasing, and some other parts are recovering, but not as they were in the past. So the fact that we may have more trees in a given place doesn't mean that we have the whole biodiversity and ecosystem functioning that we lost because of deforestation. We have more people, more land use pressure for food production like livestock. We have climate change increasing the probability of forest fires. So we have less forest available, and forests have become more and more important for humanity. Why we have a problem with our forest, native forests and plantations? Because deforestation has been the rule for 1,000 years. But now we added the climate change effect. We are adding fires and droughts, and we are adding increased demand of forest products. We need to replace plastics for buying natural fibers. We need more plantations, and we need sound and sensible and well-planned exploitation of native forests where native forests are now destroyed. So the challenges are huge. And we are all aware in our economies about all of these factors. But the point is, are we training our forestry engineer to tackle these challenges and the new opportunities? That is the point that I would like to stress in this talk. In a brief description, century by century, I see the forestry or the forest of the planet as an ecosystem that was logged almost entirely in Europe. And then with colonization of other parts of the world, we have a process of removing the forest for other uses, particularly agriculture, for 300-400 years. Then in the 19th century and the 20th century, we learned how to exploit and use plantations in many parts around the world. And then the forestry career was mostly focused on how to cut trees and exploit forest, native and plantations. But in the 21st century, societies around the world are telling us that forests are a resource of global ecological importance. Therefore, we need to rethink and re-equip our forestry professionals to comply with the demands of society that consider forests of global ecological importance. New challenges are also affecting forests, as I said before. Here you have a map of Chile and how we have had enormous global forest fires in the last 15 years that are unbalancing our carbon sequestration or all our efforts of replacing diesel buses or transport systems for electric transport system, for example. We have the highest per capita electric buses of the world after China. There are no more buses, electric buses in the world, in any other country except in China, per capita in Chile. But we are having more and more fires, large fires. In one single fire, like 7 years ago, we have 500,000 hectares being burned. We thought that because we are from a southern hemisphere economy, we're so unable to tackle fires. But then you see Canada on flames, on fire as well in the developed world. So we are having this problem now. So the new forestry career should be very aware that we are the career and the profession, and we're training the people who manage ecosystems. Not only forest, not only trees. We are training people who are able to manage ecosystems, and we are aiming for a global paradigm called sustainability. So we have done at least 3 major changes in our curriculum, and I will summarize very briefly how we do this process in our university. The last main curriculum change happened in 2016, 2017. We were discussing making a diagnosis with the industry, with the government agencies, with the public in general, and our own university. We discussed and we took actions. So we asked students, alumni, the industry, and academia, and we analyzed the curriculum of other forestry universities around the world to see how we were in our own school. So through focus group, workshops, independent consultation to ask other stakeholders in society, we managed to renew our curriculum. We detected our strengths, our academic staff, our school and university is well ranked as one of the best in Latin America. We had a clear program description, but maybe was very narrow in the scope. Despite that, despite our school is very small, we have a high employment rate, and a lot of students go to graduate studies after the undergrad. But we have some weaknesses, and the weaknesses were that we lack interdisciplinarity. We were lacking to have our students exposed to the industry and the real world problems early in their careers. And we were lacking practice and access to field activities. Also, we detected that although we have an English test for all the undergrad students of our university, our students were not proficient in English, and also were lacking a lot of soft skills. Those were the main weaknesses. So after this process, we changed the school curriculum into a major, and we separated our major from the agriculture major with different contents and different minors for a changing world. So within this idea, we are trying to increase the work outside the lecture room and try to bring more students into the forestry industry. So the vision and scope of our current career, forestry career, is to promote forestry development, sustainability of natural resources, and environmental protection to enhance life quality by increasing well-being. Forestry at Catholic University combines ecological knowledge and entrepreneurial innovation for a sustainable economy. So they have 2 years of basic science, and then they enter in year 3 and 4 to the forestry major, and then they have 3 minors where they can choose 2 of them. So the major is composed of 10 main areas: soil science, climatology, forest ecology, hydrology, GIS, forest silviculture, biostatistics, plant biodiversity, environmental economics, and conservation biology. And after that, they have these minors: forest management, landscape ecology, urban forestry, forest conservation and restoration, business management, and environmental economics. So how we're trying to improve the access of the students to nature? First of all, the idea is to take them for several days, getting them out of the comfort zone, dealing with unexpected challenges all day in the field, interacting with peers and different peoples and situations. Our program is also international, and we receive students from UBC, from University of California, and we have received different students from other countries from Europe as well. Here you have some examples of our students, graduate students from our Master of Natural Resources, students from the US, University of California. They come from different campuses. Now, after COVID, we have 2 more years that they have come again. And we have students from UBC from the last 2 years, since the last 2 years. But I cannot continue without saying the COVID catastrophe made a huge impact in our students. And after COVID, 2020, 2021, Chile was one of the countries with the longest lockdown to prevent mortality. And it was the first country in the world that used the Chinese vaccines with great success. And then we used all the other vaccines, but Chile was the first country that used the Sinovac vaccines. But despite that, the health authorities were very restrictive, and we were in a lockdown for almost 2 years. So we need to think and consider this effect, because we're talking that for 2 years, students in the secondary school and students in any moment of their career were away from practical work for almost 2 years. That means that regardless the year that the students were in their studies, secondary school or university, COVID deprived them of an important amount of access to nature, almost a time that is almost impossible to recover within their given development stage within their undergrad career. That is something that we have to recognize, and we have to try to solve at least partially. So we did a study to understand how efficient are short field courses to supply with the skills and life experiences to our students. And we ask ourselves, does the origin of the students affect the quality of the course, whether they are from other countries like Canada or the US, or whether they are from Chile, whether they are undergrad or graduate students? Should it be only forestry students in a field course, or is it good or useful for them to be in a field course with other students from other disciplines? Should it be just a series of visits to the field for one-day visit, or a hands-on experience where they work in practice? They do something during the whole day working. So we also wonder how long a course is making a difference to our students. And let me explain to you the topics that we were studying in these courses. The idea was to gather the students in the field for some limited time, to integrate soils, water, forest typology, plant diseases, fires effect, local communities, and makes them to think and see in the real world how all these things are happening in the different areas. We try to promote active learning instead of just observing. So we compare 4 different field courses: Canadian students from UBC, a master science program with a mix of students that are forestry students and other disciplines from Chile, a multidisciplinary class of students that are coming from California and where forestry students or students in forestry majors are a minority, and also a group of last year or 5th year class of only forestry students in the same experimental station, trying to do the same things. The overall aim of the field course is to introduce an integrative approach and also learning experience about the temperate native rainforests of the south of Chile and the multiple roles and values of these kind of ecosystems. So in the first day, we take the students for a walk, a trekking experience, climbing a mountain to reach ancient forest, which is a walk that lasts 8 hours approximately, going up, and 5 hours going up and 3 hours going down. It's very intense, and very students are struggling to climb a mountain and get into the forest. There is no other motivation that allowing them to disconnect from their mobile phone and getting sweaty and tired and getting into an ancient forest that is more than 1,000 years old. There are no topics to be said. There are no explanations of any kind. The only thing that we expect with that first day immersion in the forest is that they came back sore and tired, and then we asked them to write in a blackboard what they felt, how they feel in the forest, what happened with them walking for 8 hours inside the forest, and what were their experiences. So after that first day, where we immersed the students into this experience, we start our field course. So we go to the soul of the students before we go into the minds of the students. Here you see my friend Andres Barjola and the UBC students explaining what what they did and how they felt in the field. So, as I said before, a new era for forestry students means that we need to adapt to a new world, and we need to prepare students that are coming mostly from cities or urban environments. So in one side, we have society developing into more technologies, artificial intelligence, new devices, more computer-based analysis, interconnection, and new gadgets. But in the others, and also we have students that are less close to a nature experience. So we need to solve both things: how we make our students able to understand and use new technologies, but also how we make our students to be the ambassadors and the stewards of nature, and being able to explain to society the importance of forest and the importance of nature as a type of ecosystem that offers multiple services to humanity. So I see the challenges of educating the forest engineers in 3 different areas: be open to new technologies and innovation, be open to be able to communicate effectively the importance of our ecosystems, and also being able to be happy working with nature and be able to work in nature. So we have done field courses of 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, and even an entire term. The approach that we use is that we move inside a landscape of 350,000 hectares, them work with them. We explain as we walk the history of colonization and deforestation in the 19th century and the 20th century. The history of colonization and deforestation repeats in the same way all over the world. It's amazing how, if you go to Vancouver, or you go to Seattle, or you go to India, or you go to China, you see that perhaps in different times of human history, but the process of colonization and deforestation have happened everywhere in the world. And to take a student from one country to another and realize how things are happening in those countries is a very important experience in the early stages of their career, because it sparks curiosity, makes them think about their own forestry scenario and forest history, and makes them think with an open mind about the different possibilities of forestry use or forestry values. We bring the students into protected areas and also private areas, and we explain to them the new values that society are giving to nature. So we make the students to understand the importance of an ancient forest and the differences with secondary forest and all the things around that. I'm not going into the details, but we also explain and integrate wildlife conservation and biodiversity conservation, and we train them how to measure biodiversity. Forests are ecosystems, and my role in my School of Forestry is to explain to them the importance of wildlife within the forest. Our field station is in the temperate rainforest of southern Chile in the Andean Mountains. Here you see our accommodations and our students preparing camera traps for research. This is a view of the type of forest where we work, where we are surrounded by volcanoes everywhere and lakes, and we have this experience of working for 8 hours in a trekking experience. The results of our different field courses assessed in academic evaluations, and also they write their own thoughts at the end. We believe that any field course that keeps the students for 5 days or more in the field makes a fundamental change in their minds and souls, right? Also, we tested that a very tight schedule where most of the day they stay outdoors, regardless it's raining, it's cold, or it's snowing, or it's hot, and only giving them very precise information, but keeping them active and walking and learning and discovering new landscape and talking to new people is very intense in the experience and very few times sitting in a classroom, although we have a fantastic classroom. So here you have students, I think these are from Vancouver with Andres Varjola, and here they are taking some measurements in the forest. And here we have a senior professor of our School of Architecture and Design who explains to them how trees and wood can be many things for humans beyond a product. And we also go into a cave system to show them how roots go hundreds of meters even underground, and to explain all the water cycle and the importance of volcanism. And so we see the forest from above and from below. And we find curiosities like these native trees growing inside and another species that die. So the idea is that we also tested which is the best group size for having a very personal, close experience. And we believe that 10 to 15 students is the best experience for 5 to 10 days field work. We have had also 25 students, but then it's more difficult to get a close understanding of things or get them to be more able to ask questions and so on. So we conclude from the field course that these field courses are a reinforcement of the understanding of ecological concepts, silviculture examples, the importance of protected areas, how soil water topics are useful for them, and how they have to understand the socio-ecological systems where they want to work. It's very important that they interact with peers and instructors outside the classroom. That was also valued by them. And it's very important, and some of them have declared that it was a life experience for them. So also it's very important for them to meet local people from First Nations, landowners, foresters, and that greatly improved the quality of the discussion and the overall experience. We did not find differences in the academic assessments and the surveys of the students, regardless they were from Canada or North America or Chile. It was very important to have a research assistant or a teaching assistant that was around their same age from Chile. And it was very interesting for my forestry students to be my teaching assistants when we receive Canadians or American students, because they realize that they know a lot and they have a kind of expertise that is very deep in terms of their major or their role as forestry engineers, and they are very puzzled and interested in talking to students from other careers that come from the US and ask other sort of questions and makes them think beyond their discipline. So as I've been able to teach students from different parts of the world and many generations of Chilean students, I realized that it gives a lot of insight to my students to have students from other countries, and also the other students from North America particularly are very impressed how much the Chilean students know about their topic or their work. So the multidisciplinarity in the field makes a lot of sense. What are the future steps? We expect to combine our field courses from Chile and other countries within the same week. So bringing Chilean students with UBC students or students from China or students from Australia. We dream that we could create a global APF-net for field course for the Global South students to come to the temperate rainforest of Chile and our students to go to Southeast Asia tropical rainforest. I think bringing students from one corner of the world to another corner of the world to a complete different ecosystems will open their careers from the very beginning to a new horizons. So I hope we can do that. We can exchange students and do these field courses. The final remarks of our field course is that field courses are a rewarding experience and boosted the motivation and self-esteem of the students that are close to enter the market as forestry professionals or environmental managers alike. Last but not least, I want to say a few words about something that interests me a lot, and I've been working for more than 10 years, how to understand business and biodiversity together, how to move forward in our training of our future forest engineers to make them attractive to the market, and trying to understand as an ecologist the economy and the business sector. And I have to say, as an ecologist, that we have a serious problem as ecologists. And I'm trying not to be in that type of ecologist. That we believe that ecology is the most important thing, and we believe that nature is the most important thing, and we blame everybody else of being bad with nature or bad to nature. But what we have to do is to attract other stakeholders in society, particularly business, particularly the industry, and makes them partners of our main interest, that is conservation, ecosystem protection, and sustainable management. So we need to train more forestry engineers that go to the industry with the right knowledge to make money, to provide services and products to society, to thrive in their economies, side by side with environmental sensible management. So I'm going to show you, I've been researching on the most important forestry companies around the world, and I will show you now one of them and how they see their future and how they are organizing their way of making business. And for the sake of time, I'm going to choose only one, but I'm analyzing 10. This is CMPC, which is the second largest forestry company of Chile, and is a multinational company that has forest plantations in Brazil and Uruguay, and also has industries, processing industries in North America, and is a large exporter of forest products to China and other countries around the world. In their sustainability and biodiversity strategy, they are talking about the bioeconomy, and they are talking about being the producer of natural fibers for a better future. And they devised their strategy to comply with the Sustainable Development Goals of the 2030 Agenda. When I teach my students the Sustainable Development Goals, I tell them what is the beauty of the Sustainable Development Goals compared to previous strategies that the Aichi Biodiversity Treaty or the Convention for Biodiversity or the Ramsar Convention, what is the difference of the Sustainable Development Goals? The difference is that sustainability and the environment is not separated from human well-being and economic development, and it is integrated with human rights and environmental protection in every single aspect of humanity: health, economic growth, terrestrial ecosystem, marine ecosystems, equity, fairness. Everything includes the environmental dimension in all the Sustainable Development Goals in one way or another. And that is a different scenario where ecologists are forced to understand the other needs of humanity, and the other stakeholders are forced to understand that without planet Earth in a healthy state, we don't have future as humanity. So what is very interesting is that mining, forestry companies, and many other sectors of the industry are talking about sustainability, are talking about how to comply with the 2030 agenda already. They are not waiting for us from academia to move forward. And somehow I feel that they are moving faster than academia in many ways. So any forestry industry that is a main player around the world is always looking for talent, competitiveness, growth, and innovation, and focus on the customers and sustainability. And I wonder if ecologists and professors in academia are really focused on our customers. Who are our customers? Society as a whole. Society are demanding from us more national parks, are demanding from us more furniture, more wood-built construction, more paper, more natural products. Ecologists tell people plastic are bad. What is the option? What are the alternatives? So in the industry, as CMPC and many other large industries, they focus on transformation, short and mid-term. They are very aware of the digital transformation. They are very aware that everything is moving in resource and development, and they are investing in innovation, and they are considering how to innovate in the environmental aspect of forest exploitation, right? So they need future forest engineers that are open to look for innovation, taking risk, looking for new solutions. Let's see some of the examples of innovation that are happening now in the forestry industry around the world. For example, of the products, the Nordic Bioproduct Group, they are testing new natural fibers from microcrystalline cellulose that are more strong, durable, and biodegradable to replace other kind of products. The foamy, they are developing natural-based replacement for polystyrene. And the Pulpex innovation action to combat plastic pollution, how we can improve or use more fibers from trees to replace plastic. And the green economy, the green hydrogen economy ecosystem. Chile is now moving forward because we have a lot of solar energy and a lot of wind energy. We are moving into the green hydrogen ecosystem economy, and the forestry sector of our country is moving forward on using hydrogen in their machinery and in their pulp mill industry, and they want to continue decreasing their carbon footprint by using green hydrogen produced from energy that comes from solar panels or wind. So we have in Patagonia, in the south of Chile, a lot of wind, and we are now starting large companies that are aimed to produce hydrogen to export to the world. So the green hydrogen ecosystem is a target for the forestry industry in my country that wants to use green energy. So the opportunities are for all sectors, but the forestry industry in Chile is thinking on how to use that. And the sustainable construction of the future with wood. In the past, we have these houses that are very rustic and very cheap and not very durable. In the present, wood is being integrated, and now in the future, and it's really happening already in Chile and Canada and many places, the building high altitude building. So in the industry, they want to move into the deep tech or deep technology or industry 4.0, using automatic devices, artificial intelligence, side by side with human work. So the industry is keen and need that our students learn about artificial intelligence and analytics, process simulation, the use of wood-based composites for 3D printing, autonomous robots management for forest operation, biotech and genomics, advanced materials like nanocellulose, microfibrillated cellulose, clean energy, hydrogen, synthetic fuels, estimating the carbon footprint of an industry, and the quantum computing that is coming very soon, right? And the cybersecurity associated with quantum computing, right? So my final remarks, and I want to thank you for listening to me for so long, is that we need to rethink the way that we're training our students. We need to attract the best students in town, and somehow we need to call them because they are interested in nature, and we are open to them, the whole world of technology, innovation, and the social sciences alike, for valuing forests in a broader perspective. So forest engineering is a profession not of the for the future, is for now. It is imperative for the new generations of forest engineers to step forward and spearhead efforts in mitigating the climate crisis. I cannot think of any other profession. I teach biologists, forest engineers, agronomists, veterinarians. I have been teaching geographers. In my opinion, not being a forest engineer, I'm an ecologist, the forest engineer is the professional or the person with the tools working as a team with other professions, but to spearhead forest and ecosystem management, not just forest, ecosystem management. Because we don't only need to learn how to protect an ecosystem. We need to manage, recover, recreate ecosystems. And the forest engineers, from the very basic years of their learning experience, learn all the components of an ecosystem and how they move and change and how they can be used in a sustainable way. So by empowering local communities to flourish within a sustainable environment, forest engineers can serve as stewards of our natural capital. So they have a social role as well. Socio-ecological systems and forests are the most iconic ecosystem on land, and forest engineers are the stewards of forest. Additionally, fostering collaboration with other professionals is crucial for collective progress, but we need to change our curriculums to teach our students to become leaders of interdisciplinary groups and not just listeners of orders by other professions, right? That's a difference. Together, we can navigate these challenges and pave the way for a brighter and greener future. Perhaps the era of a solitary professional amidst the forest depths has come to an end. I want to thank my co-author of this talk, Jose Tomas Corthon from CMPC, who provided insights and slides for the last part of my talk. We are part of nature, and nature is our home. And here you have the UBC student hanging in a bridge, looking at wonderful soil profile in a volcanic area of my country. And I wish many of you come to visit us and bring your student with you for having a field experience with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Cristian, and thank you also for the invite to come over and visit. I'd love to see those forests and those soil profiles myself one day, and I hope to do so. Just with some questions now, we have only a little bit of time, so if you do need to leave, that's okay. But we might extend the session to allow people to ask questions, and Cristian to respond to those. So please feel free, if you have a question, pop your hands up, or if you'd like, write into the chat area, and I'll keep monitoring that. All right, Gangu.
Hi, thank you so much for your excellent talk. I was amazed by the approach your university used to examine the internal weakness and the strengths, and to find the opportunity to working with toward more like close to the forest. So I was heard quite a lot of university right now. They are facing the issue, but they want to change the name, move to another direction for conservation, for environment, for those to change the name. And I think you was more like focus more toward the forest, to more focus on the student competency and student ability, and also the passion of the learning. So I had a question for you. What do you think about the future of the forestry school? So we need to change the name, or we need to promote a forestry? And what are your opinions?
Well, thank you, my dear friend. Sometimes it's better not to be of one kind of people or one kind of profession and work for that profession for your entire life. So, because I'm not a forestry engineer as a first training, but I've been trained and I've been working for forestry engineers for 35 years, I can see from outside what are the main things that a forest engineer can do in society, and what are the new challenges that are facing. And I strongly support the idea that forest ecosystem management is the right way to portray this wonderful profession. Because you are not managing trees, you are managing ecosystems that are dominated by trees. And ecology is a very young science. It's not more than 150 years old, right? So it's quite understandable that the forestry engineers of the 16th century in Europe, or the Chinese forest engineers 2,000 years ago, saw the trees as something to be used only. But now we have a better understanding that a forest is not a group of trees. A forest is a complex ecosystem. And forestry engineers have been learning ecology forever, from the very beginning of this profession. The first ecological society was the Soil Ecological Society in North America and was created by forest engineers, for example. So I think the name depends of the language, but we say forest ecosystem management or forest ecosystem engineer, talking about the ecosystem as a whole, will be a good option. Let me just finish my answer with a very, very practical division that we did in our school. Our school created 30 years ago the School of Forestry within the School of Agriculture. So in one single school, all right? And now, just 2 years ago, we created a School of Natural Resources, right? Natural Resources as a new school. But when we decided to create this new career, which is called Natural Resources Engineering, we said everything related to biodiversity and forest ecosystems are ecology is in forestry and not in natural resources. Everything related to food production from plants and animals is in agronomy, but we teach them sustainability and management of pollution and so on. So what are the natural resource engineers going to do? They are going to do modeling of water pollution. They are going to do modeling of climate. They are going to do soil management, but everything related to biodiversity, trees, insects, wildlife, stays in forestry. And that was my contribution to these professor discussions.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Over to you.
Thanks very much, and great presentation, Christian. Just a quick addition to what you just answered to Guang Yu. When you change the name of a faculty from forestry to something else, it's always the start of the end. We see that time and time again. So you change it to something like forests and the environment. That's the first step in killing forestry in a program. The question I had was, you talked about how important it would be to take students to a temperate rainforest and then to somewhere, perhaps a tropical rainforest somewhere. What about taking students to examples of temperate rainforests in different parts of the world? So they were comparing like with like. So a temperate rainforest in Canada, temperate rainforest in Australia or New Zealand, a temperate rainforest in Chile or Argentina. That way they would see, a student specializing or wanting to become a forester in somewhere like Chile is probably not going to actually need very much tropical experience. But if they were to get experience from Australia, they were to get experience from Canada, they see the same type of ecosystems. Just a thought that there's maybe instead of contrasting, it might be more valuable to compare.
Well, let me answer your question, John, with a question to you. Imagine who you are now without having the experience as you have in your career, visiting all sorts of ecosystems around the world. Would you be the same brilliant professor that you are by just going from Scotland to Vancouver and coming back? I completely disagree with you, my friend, because I had that question myself when I was going to do my PhD. I had the opportunity to go to Gainesville, which is in Florida, and my dean said, "Are you crazy? Why are you going to a tropical ecosystem? You go to England, And then that's why I went to England, But in my own life experience, the fact that I've been able to visit tropical ecosystem and other ecosystems where you don't just visit the trees or the ecosystem, you visit and learn and see the people. Remember that we're talking about landscapes, and landscapes means today we have my mentor, emeritus professor, 88 years old, giving a plenary talk a few hours ago. And he said, landscapes are nature and people, and both are changing forever. So to have the opportunity of a student from China to come to Chile and see our temperate rainforest, it will be an experience that will make them to be different in the way that they think, and to be better, to be open-minded to new experiences. So next time that John wants to go to China, he should go only to the temperate rainforest area, right?
Okay.
Write a reply, John.
I'm trying to think of a clever reply, but I can't. I'm too exhausted from jet lag.
Yeah, fantastic. Any other questions at all from anyone? I don't see anything in the chat. And I will push things along because I know we're 10 minutes over time, and I know in Chile it's quite late now. It's nearly midnight. So
it's always a pleasure to see my friends.
It is always nice to see each other, isn't it? For sure. We should do it more often, and in person too. So with that in mind, I might wrap that up. Thank you very much, Cristian, for your talk today. Greatly appreciated. I have some questions as well, but I'm sure we'll be able to follow those up at another time, and get some rest, eh? Good time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Else.
And everybody, we will see you in the next talk in May. I will be the chair of the talk in May, so I will be in charge. Thank you, Susie, for all the details and organization.
Keeping us in line, hey?
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Everybody, yeah. Thank you.